What's up, guys? Thanks so much for clicking on the video. My name is Leah, and let's recap and review Real Housewives of Orange County. This is season 18, episode 9. So let's get into it, because it was a lot. All right. So y'all know sometimes before we get into it, we get a little spicy over here. And y'all... we got to talk about Tamra and Vicki. So for like the past 2 or 3 days, my timeline on Twitter has been people updating, like giving their 2 cents or showing screenshots or showing new clips about Vicki and Tamra arguing back and forth. So Vicki was on this podcast called, I think it's called MyFriend Soulmate podcast. And basically, Vicki was talking about Tamra's daughter, Sydney, the one that she is estranged from. And she pretty much gave her 2 cents. I'm going to play the clip for you. But when Tamra saw the clip, pretty much all hell broke loose.
That Gina had that Tamra was yelling at Shannon. We're all dressed up in
the dinner.
Shannon... See, this is what happens in my brain. Tamra called Shannon a cunt. You and I talked about that. And I think they cut that out. And I went outside and I said to Tom, our producer, I said, I don't know what's going on here. Why is Tamra so upset with Shannon? He's like, we don't really know. It didn't pertain to her. Go back out there and tell them this has got to stop. Women don't treat women this way. I said, that's at my core of who I am. Mm-hmm. But these women are supposed to be friends, and also they're doing a job together. Why is Tamra so involved in what Shannon went through? And I couldn't get an answer from Tamra. Like, why are you making this about you? Because she needs to, because she doesn't have anything going. She won't expose her and Eddie's real problems in their marriage. Oh, because her marriage is perfect? Doubt it. She won't talk about Sydney, who she hasn't seen in years. She doesn't talk. Listen, if my daughter
that's why she's hateful to other people, because then it scares them to bring up that shit, because they know they see what's coming their way if they bring it up. You know what I mean? I think that's why
my daughter didn't talk to me, I'd be on a flippin' plane right now, knocking on her door, begging her for forgiveness, and I don't even care what I did. Sydney has a very strong opinion of Tamra. Stop embarrassing the family. Stop doing what you're doing. Get off the show, and we have a chance. Tamra did none of that. So you know what? That shows Sydney, I'm not important to you. I don't care about my money, my stuff, I care about my family, my daughter, my people in my life. So that's the problem, is just one thing. Mom, stop swearing at people, stop doing stupid stuff, and then come, let's have a conversation. But even when Tamra was off for 2 years, she never connected with Sydney. And Sydney's a beautiful daughter. She hasn't seen her and been with her.
She said on a recent episode that she saw her, I think, at Sophia's graduation, and she thought they were going to maybe... Because she said it was, I think, a decent exchange. But then she said Sydney stopped responding to texts after that. Does she talk to you about this as a friend?
No, she just screw. You know, every now and then when she was crying in somebody's arms this season, it's like, oh, please. It's just like the thing in Ireland when she was crying on, Shannon's arms.
Yeah. Not to say that it's not hard and doesn't affect her, but I just think, like...
Then get off the show and reconcile with your daughter. It's pretty simple.
But friends talk about real life shit, and you give each other advice, and she never even goes there with you.
No, she
That's
was just
weird.
It's so hard. No, it's not. You gave birth to your daughter. You fucked up. Go apologize and make it better and move on. Maybe she chose Eddie over her daughter. I don't know, but there's no flipping way I'm going through life not being close with my daughter. My daughter and my son are my life. They're my bloodstream. They're my life. If they're pissed off at me, then I messed up, or they're pissed off at me just because they don't like me right now, but I'm going to figure out a way to make them like me again. Yeah. They're their mother. Like, I don't get, how she cries on TV and Sydney said, please don't mention me. Please don't do this. And the next thing you know, she's bawling. It's like she can turn on the waterworks like that. Anyway, that is...
So once word got out about Vicki doing this podcast and giving her thoughts on Tamra's relationship with her daughter, Tamra wasn't, like I said, she wasn't happy about it, okay? So she was on her Insta story and people were asking her comments. Now, I don't know what's wrong with Tamra's face. I don't know if she's having an allergic reaction, if it's a chemical peel, but I don't know why she hopped on the internet like this, but let me play those 2 videos for you.
Hey guys, I love answering all your questions, but I'm getting bombarded with this Vicki shit. Like, I don't give a shit. This woman is disgusting in every sense of the word. To go after my family and everything, that's what she does. I don't know why she's doing it. Maybe she needs a little attention. Maybe someone needs to pet her back like a little puppy, but I'm not going to do it. Listen, I'm not going to take parent advice from a woman that chose her boyfriend Brooks over her own daughter, a woman that had a boyfriend that told Ryan he should beat his wife to keep her in line and to stay with him. Like, to me, that's disgusting. What has happened in my relationship through my divorce and my kids is very tragic and sad. And for her to even talk about it is disgusting. So Vicki, go away. Leave me alone. I'm going to ask you for the last time. Leave me alone. Nobody cares what you have to say. Ever. Go away. Hey guys, somebody's asking me to make up with Vicki. First of all, I've never gotten in a fight with Vicki. I don't know what she's doing or why she's doing it, but it's my understanding she did something really, really nasty across the line to the point where it's been sent to my attorneys. So I don't know what her problem is with me, but I'm begging you from the deepest part of my heart to leave me alone. I'm not saying anything about you. I don't want to say anything about you. What you're doing is so sad and so disgusting. It was just you a couple episodes ago saying you're a woman of God and should not be doing this. So what are you doing? And why are you doing this? What are you getting out of it? Because all that you're doing is hurting me and hurting my family. So please, I'm begging you, please leave us alone. Somebody's asking.
So I thought it was over after Tamra responded on Instagram in her Insta stories, but it wasn't. I started to see screenshots, like I mentioned, being posted online of people seeing Tamra in the comments on some blog pages, giving her 2 cents about how she felt. So she commented under a blog page that reposted the initial video that started all of this, where Vicki was on that podcast, and she said this, Tamra said this: "Shut the F up, Vicki. My daughter has never said such a thing. Leave us alone, you miserable cow." And then Tamra, I guess, wasn't done. So she started to be super emotional. So she made an emotional video where she was pleading with Vicki to leave her alone. So let me play that video.
I've tried so hard not to listen to what Vicki had said about me, and I just keep getting bombarded with it. I'm in just disbelief, in such disbelief that this woman would go so low. Do you know what it's like to lose a child? Do you know what it's like? It's the most painful thing in the world to insinuate it was because I was on the show. No, that's not what it is. You win, Vicki. I don't know what you want from me, but you got it. You win, okay? You kick me when I'm down. You hurt me all the time. I can't do it anymore. I don't want any part of this. You can have my spot on the show. You can have whatever you want. Just please leave my family alone. Please.
So I thought that was the end of it, and it was not. Every time I think this is over, it's not. But pretty much, there was two screenshots being floated around on the timeline, and they're saying that it's Sydney's Facebook page where she is expressing why she does not talk to her mom anymore. And I wasn't sure if that was a real post or not, and I didn't take the time to read it because it looked grainy, and also it was very lengthy, and I didn't really care that much. You know what I'm saying? But I'm only adding this to the video because it adds to the lore. But the final thing that I saw was on All True T's page, where they reposted a page by the name of the Bravo Investigator, where they had put a graphic together of Vicki's audio responding to Tamra crying about leaving her alone while Vicki was being interviewed by the podcast called Housewives Nightcap. And then they also added a picture from the page called Comments by Bravo of Tamra responding. So I'm going to read the comments first before I play the audio. So the first comment goes, "STFU, Vicki, you have no idea what you're talking about, you POS." And then she goes on to say, "It was never about the show. Stop lying about a painful situation you know nothing about, you vile." And then she used the pig emoji. "So why do 2 of my children not speak to their father? Is that the show's fault too? Have some sympathy for a tragic situation that has destroyed a family. Do you want to go after my parents and extended family too? They have no relationship with her either. Don't you have an elderly person to scam, a fake chemo appointment to make, or a small animal to sacrifice?" And then she ended it with hashtag washed up has been. So let me play the audio.
to cry on social media and do what she's doing. Somebody told me that she's doing videos with her face, going through the transition. I am all about family. And when I said that with Christian, it was, I would do anything. If my daughter decided tomorrow, I pissed her off about something and said, Mom, get off the show, stop showing your tits and stop embarrassing the family, I would do all three of those. That's all I was saying. And it's not to hurt Tamra. It's not to hurt her daughter. It's just the facts. Her daughter was embarrassed by some actions that Tamra was doing. Then get off the show. Get off the show, because family is more important than money. Mm-hmm. And that's why people do the show, is because we get paid a lot of money at our time being on. And I would walk away from every dollar and I'd give it all back. If I would get Brianna back, if God forbid, she got mad at me about something and didn't talk to me, I would get on a plane, fly there and just say, we have to fix this right now. But that's all I was saying. It was not meant to hurt Tamra. I don't want to hurt Tamra. I don't come from a place of anger or hurt. I just don't want to be friends with somebody that can be that mean to somebody. She was so mean to Shannon. She kept saying, I didn't do anything to Vicki. It's who you are. And you're being so mean.
So that was the end of it, y'all. It'll probably keep going on because I just saw Jennifer Aiden jumped into the chat and she made a statement. And I know some people don't like Jennifer. I think what she said was correct. It's like right message, wrong messenger. But in all honesty, Tamra is being very much a hypocrite. It's like pot me kettle, because it's like, you can't be crying on it about how like you can't come from my family and Vicki's so vile and this and that, when for the past like 9 episodes, you've been disgusting, man. Like, you've been very messed up towards Shannon. So it kind of is like, girl, take what you can give. So it is what it is. But let's get into this review. So the episode opens up and we got Heather and Alexis in the car together. Heather is really excited because this episode, they're actually going to the event that she's been inviting everybody to since last episode, by this event that I think she's hosting in conjunction with them, or she's just a part of, called Family Equality. And it's pretty much an organization that fights for the rights of LGBTQIA families. And Alexis and Heather both have trans children, so they are very excited to be a part of this organization. While they're in the car, Heather tells Alexis, girl, Shannon is invited as well. Alexis is like, for real? And Heather's just like, girl, is there any way y'all can like get to know each other so y'all can move forward or form some type of relationship? And Alexis is like, no, because like I just I want to, but she's done so much, and I'm gonna unleash. And Heather's just looking at her like, girl. And it's funny to me because every time Heather sees Alexis get like click out when it comes to things about Shannon and John, she always has this like bewildered look of like shock and awe that her friend is this psycho. And I say, yeah, girl, that's your friend. And so they let that go. We find out that they're all going to be taking this private jet to the actual like wine country, but Jen is not going to be flying on the jet with them. She is actually preparing for a court date on the day that everybody is going to be landing at the event place that they're going to. So we actually see this scene of Jen. She's packing for the event, but she gets a phone call from Katie. They're on FaceTime, and she's just like, I'm so ready for this to be over. And what we find out is Jen and William haven't been able to like lock down a court date. They've been going back and forth, but this court hearing that they have on this day is for her to get temporary child support. We actually see a flashback where she is having a conversation with her lawyer and Ryan is with her, and he's telling her like, this is just temporary. We're just trying to see if this is enough for you or not, but you need some type of support. And she's like, yeah. So then she actually starts to get emotional on the phone, and Katie is trying to comfort her because Katie understands what it's like to go through a bitter divorce. And she's just like, I wish I could be there with you. And Jen is just like, it's so hard. Like, I'm just so like overwhelmed. I can't wait for this to be over. And this makes me look at Jen kind of crazy because I'm like, have you been lying to us? Because I distinctly remember her saying last season that William or Will or whatever that man's name is actually apologized to her and said that like she was right, that it was pretty much his fault that they got a divorce because Jen was trying to get him to go to counseling, trying to get him to understand that she was struggling in their marriage, and he really wasn't like receptive to anything that she offered. But now we're in this season and you telling me that like y'all been battling it out for like 4 years to just lock down a court date for temporary child support, on top of the fact that he got y'all evicted because he didn't pay his share of the rent. So I feel like you lied to me, Jen. But I'm guessing maybe because like it was her first time, her first season, she didn't want to give too much and make it more contentious between her and Will. And then Katie is just like, she understands. She ends up saying something to the effect of like, you know, whenever I hate thinking about like my divorce, like, you know, I didn't get any alimony, any child support. She was like, even his hairline is running away from them. And I laughed. I ain't gonna lie, I laughed at that. But I read this article and I did the drama video about it, but I'll link the article below if you would like to read it for yourself. But in that article, it says that initially when Katie and her husband got a divorce, he had primary custody for like 2 years or maybe a year or two, and then they went back and like changed it. So I'm like, of course, girl, you was not getting no spousal, no child support, I would say, if he got primary custody. But okay, girl. But it is nice to see Katie and Jen build this friendship, even though I'm still kind of about Katie. It's nice to see like two housewives actually like connect, and it's not on like we're friends to spite somebody else, or like they both have beef with the same person. It seems like Jen and Katie mutually like each other. So we see all the girls get on the private jet, and it's separated where we have Katie and Alexis on at the front of the plane, and then the rest of the girls are at the back of the plane. And we see this conversation between Emily and Shannon, where Emily is asking Shannon like, are you dating? Are you talking to anybody? And Shannon is like, no, I'm not really into that right now. And I said she shouldn't be. She need to be dating a therapist and the Lord. Like, what are we talking about? In herself. So no, she don't need none of that. So then this whole conversation about these Ferragamo shoes, Gina brings it up because she was like, her and Emily were like joking about it. And I think Tamra and Heather is like, what y'all talking about? And what we find out is that before everyone got on the plane, they saw a picture of John and Alexis like on this red carpet event. And Shannon pointed out that she bought those Ferragamo shoes. But like Emily said, she said it in the Shannon way, where she said it in her, like underneath her breath, like, oh, so I see he got on them Ferragamos I bought him. And Shannon ends up being like, John didn't even know what labels were until he got with me. And if I was Shannon, I would have told John, if you want your $75,000, then I want everything I bought you back. And then we can move from there. So then Tamra, being messy, asks Alexis, girl, what type of shoes did you and John have on the red carpet? And Alexis annoyingly is like, I don't even know why we're talking about this, but they were Ferragamos. And Emily is like, thank you. That settles it. And so everyone starts laughing. And Katie is like, what are they talking about? And Alexis is like, oh, me and John were on the red carpet. And then Alexis is in her confessional being like, what 60-year-old woman behaves this way? I said, what damn near 50-year-old behaves like you, Alexis? See, you can't be throwing out those type of like age digs when you aren't the picture perfect level of like perfection of like maturity. Like, you are 47 years old, and I Googled it, but you act like a 21-year-old, and it's sad because you would think after getting married and getting divorced that you wouldn't be acting this way. But then my brain starts to think maybe Alexis still would be this crazy but not as intense if John wouldn't have came into her life after her mom died, because the level of intensity Alexis has is so weird. It's like you only been with this man, you just got engaged, y'all only been together for 9 months, and you are acting, and by this time it was less than that, but you are acting like you've been with this man for like 20 plus years, and y'all relationship has stood the test of times. And it's weird. It's weird because you only known this man for, I'll give you like maybe maybe 4 or 5 months, but you acting like, you know, he been down with you and he got it out the mud with you. He was in the gym shooting them baskets with you. That is how you're acting, and it's weird. It's so weird because I'm just thinking, like, you went through that divorce with your husband, who we could see was an evangelical asshole, which most of them are. Okay. And it's just kind of like, she ain't learned nothing. It's rocks in that brain. It's rocks in that brain. Girls asked Tamra while they're still on the plane, girl, why did you even ask her that? And Tamra was like, because it was going to come up either way, so it's not that big of a deal. And it's weird to me that people were actually like in their feelings about Heather being in her confessional, being like, oh, they're cheap, like the shoes. Because I think she said they were like $3,700 to $4,700. And I'm like, girl, we know Heather is wealthy. That might be that. 47 to 37 might be $37 to her. like one day I wish I'm that wealthy, but I'm like, y'all, this is the point of Housewives, to watch rich, like, old women fight. Why are you watching this show if you're mad when they speak about their wealth? Just don't watch it. But the plane finally lands, and we see the girls get into their sprinters to head to where they're staying. They're staying in like this woodsy cabin area. Everyone gets their own cabin. It's a cute little setup. Heather, of course, has the best one because hers actually looked like a house to me versus the other girls with the cabin. And pretty much they're in 2 separate cars. You have the rest of the girls. I think it was like Tamra, Emily, Shannon, and Heather in a car together. And then Gina, Katie, and Alexis in a car together. And Alexis is like, what am I going to do if I'm in a room by myself with Shannon? And, you know, Katie and Gina are like, well, you could talk to her. And Alexis is like, well, I want to talk to her, but I want to tell her, like, I know this is awkward. I know this is weird, but I don't want to, like, ruin this trip because of how important this organization is to Heather and to me. And then Gina says something to the effect of, like, but you don't want to be the executioner. I don't know how that came about, but Gina basically is like, girl, you say you want to have this conversation with her and all of this stuff, but, like, you have this loaded, like, bomb that you're about to drop on her about these videos. You telling us all about these videos that John is, like, wanting to drop. And so they do a flashback of Gina having a conversation with Tamra, where Tamra is telling Gina about the videotapes or this ring footage. And Gina is pretty much saying, like, if this footage is dropped, it's going to ruin Shannon's reputation. We also see Katie in her confessional saying, like, yeah, I don't want no parts of this. I don't want to be around when this is dropped. And, like, Gina keeps looking at Alexis like, you really don't want to be that girl. Like, you don't want to be a part of this. But Alexis ends up saying, like, well, Shannon needs to understand, like, all the people, like, how she hurts people. And I'm going to defend my man. Girl, again, it's crazy because you've only known this man probably about 6 months and you're acting like he's really the love of your life. And it's weird. It's weird. And I was just like, Alexis, girl. And so they get to the cabins. Everyone likes their rooms. And then we see the girls break off into groups. So Shannon, Emily, Katie, and Gina are, like, sitting in this picnic area on the lawn. And then you have Heather, Tamra, and Alexis sitting, like, maybe, like, several feet away from them on this other, like, this patio area. And everyone's, like, sitting down to eat lunch. And while they're sitting down, you see a waitress come to the girls sitting at the picnic table on the lawn. And she asks all of them, like, hey, what can I get y'all to drink? So Katie and Emily order, like, alcoholic beverages. And so does Shannon. And Gina gets, like, I think, like, water and, like, I think she said water and honey or water and lime. I don't know. Either way, she doesn't order an alcoholic drink. And so Gina is kind of looking at Shannon like, girl, Tamra is already on your ass about your drinking. And I'm here sitting here sober with you. Like, it should be easy for you to pass on getting an alcoholic drink when I'm here with you and I know what you're going through. And I agreed with Gina, like, girl, to me, that's not a good look. I get it. Shannon says she can handle 2 drinks, but I'm like, for this whole entire season, if I was Shannon and I was doing her PR, girl, you don't need to be getting nothing but tea and water. Okay. And maybe a little bit of soda, but tea and water. Okay. Preferably peach tea. love me some peach tea. But it's just kind of like, it doesn't seem like you learned anything. Like, Shannon, you talking about, oh, I can do 2 drinks, and I'm like, I don't think you can. If I was her, I wouldn't be drinking on camera. It'd just be water and tea for me. So while they're sitting there, they ask Shannon like how she's feeling about being here with Alexis and them. And then Shannon shares with them that like today she has to make an offer, or she's making an offer towards John about the settlement. And they're like, well, how much? Like, Emily's like, how much is it, if you don't mind me asking? And she's like, I'm thinking about giving him half. So what's half of 75, y'all? Okay, so pretty much $38,000. She's like, I'm, and she's like, it's a lot of money. And then like Gina chimes in and she's just kind of like, I just don't get it. Like, he's mad at you for, being in the, like, putting his life out there into the public, but then he's with girl, and they doing red carpet debuts. They're out here living their best life in the public. And then Gina makes a point, when you break up with somebody, you talk bad about them. And I was like, yeah, for the most part you do. And so Shannon is just like, she don't know. She was like, it's just a lot, and she's overwhelmed, but hopefully she gets some good news by the end of the day. So the other girls, like I said, Heather, Alexis, and Tamra are having lunch, and Alexis is just grateful that Heather invited her. Tamra tries to say, you and John like broke the internet, like it's all the talk, and it's all these blogs about them being on the red carpet. Girl, they ain't break not damn internet. Don't nobody care about John and Alexis. Like, the shock value wore off after like a few hours. It really did when I first saw that they were together. And you have Gina in her confessional being like, you have them posting this article about this is their red carpet debut as if they're going to be on more red carpets. Like, what is this? What what this is crazy. Like, what is While this? The girls were sitting at the table, Heather actually walked up to them to let them know what they were doing for the rest of the day before dinner. So she planned like a spa day for Shannon, Emily, Gina, and Katie, and the rest of the girls were actually going to go to, I guess, the like one of the headquarters, or like this wine place that Family Equality owns, to like celebrate and do like a wine tasting there. So we actually see the girls go on the wine tasting. While they're there, that's when they find out that about the whole Florida bill, where I guess Family Equality actually sued Florida for their Don't Say Gay bill that they had, and they actually won. So everyone was actually really excited. So they were toasting. We find out that Heather is making like, I guess, wine out of her kids. Like, each kid will get a wine or something like that. And we did get this really nice scene in the beginning of the episode of Heather with her family. And you know how she and her kids and Terry and them have moved from from LA, I don't know if it's Orange County to Beverly Hills. And they were asking the kids like, hey, how do you like Beverly Hills versus living back at home? And it seems like both kids, the youngest kids, are really thriving. The daughter is actually doing very well. At her school, they have like a really cool film program. And then the youngest one, the one that is trans, he is doing well. He has a better, I guess, social group, and the school is more accepting and welcoming. So I commend Heather and Terry being like, hey, my child not going to be bullied or harmed in any kind of way, because Orange County is conservative AF. So I was like, so we going to take it to Beverly Hills, where we know my child will be accepted and possibly have a very positive experience in their formative years. So kudos to them. So while they're there, we end up seeing Jen pull up. So they're excited to see Jen. Everyone's asking Jen like, hey girl, how did the hearing go? Girl, not so great. Cause she ended up only getting $60,000, not 60, 6,000. She probably would be happy with $60,000 a month, but she's only getting $6,000 a month in child support for each kid. And they're like, you got 5 kids. That's not enough. And I said, girl, no, it's not enough. It's not. And when I read about the hearing in one of my spicy corners before, I think it was maybe the first or second episode of this season about Jen and like her settlement from her ex-husband, I was like, that's still not enough money that she got. So they're like $6,000 for 5 kids. Like Tamra and what's her name? Alexis are just like, that's it. And then you have Heather being like, is that enough to cover your kids' expenses? And Jen is like, not really, but we're gonna try to make it work. We're gonna try to make it work. And I said, dang. But I actually did agree with Tamra where she was like, I'm worried that Jen is going to use this money not to get a job. And I was like, if Jen is smart, and if this whole situation has taught her anything, she will just use that money when she needs it, but actually find a lucrative career or some type of job that is going to give her more money. Because that yoga studio ain't doing it. And $6,000 isn't enough for kids these days, especially with the price of food, clothes, books, computers and stuff. Yeah, girl, no. So you're going to have to find another way, Jen. And I hope you do find it soon. So, while they're sitting there, and I think Jen ends up being like, so how is everything with y'all and Shannon? And Tamra brings up about like the whole Ferragamo thing, but she also brings up about how so I think the story was like when Shannon saw the picture or somebody saw a picture of Shannon or posted it on Instagram where Shannon was at the bar with like an alcoholic beverage. And you got Heather in her confessional being like, I've never ordered a mocktail from a bar, but I wish she wouldn't have done that. And we actually see when they were in the cars, Tamra reading off like, I guess maybe a blog post of Shannon being there, being like with alcohol and stuff like that. And Shannon being like, well, it was just like a spritz or something like that. It wasn't that deep. And I was like, yeah, Shannon, you just got into a DUI. And people have already thought that you had a drinking problem. I asked my cousin because my cousins don't really watch Housewives unless it's like the Black Housewives. So, Atlanta or Potomac. But my cousins I asked them about have they watched OC, and I brought up Shannon, and she legit was like, oh, the one with the drinking problem. And I was like, well, yeah, she got a DUI a while ago. And my cousin was like, no, I've always thought she had a drinking problem. So I'm like, Shannon, people who don't even watch the show think you drink too much. So if I was her, again, I would just be drinking tea and water. I would not be caught slipping out in these streets. Girl, if you gonna drink at the house. Or drink at a friend's house that got your back like that. Still at the wine tasting and everything. And they just finished talking about Shannon. They end up bringing up Katie because Jen is like, well, how are you and Katie, Heather? And Heather explains how, we all right. It's whatever, you know what I mean? But, I invited her because I told her, I said, in the spirit of inclusivity, you can come. So then Tamra and Alexis and Jen started ragging Heather about the way she invited Katie. And Heather's like, I don't get what I did wrong. Because Alexis is like, well, she did say you kept cutting her off while she was trying to apologize. And Heather's like, because she was trying to explain and justify what she did. And I didn't want to hear all of that. And I don't think the way Heather invited Katie was wrong. And it might be the Capricorn in me, she's a Capricorn. But yeah, I'd have been like, hey girl, in the spirit of inclusivity, I'm inviting you. Whatever happens, happens. If we go from here, we go from here. Because, we weren't friends. So what is there to reconcile? We're starting out back at ground one. And so Tamra is just like, well, I like Katie, and I think, you give her grace. And Heather's like, where was the grace for me when she dug up shit about me and my family? About this stupid paparazzi thing. Why couldn't she give me grace? What we talking about? And so Tamara ends up being like, well, the more I talk to Katie, the more I think Gina set her up. And Heather's like, I don't know enough about this to say that Gina set her up, but what do you mean? And we see an actual flashback of where it was Jen, Katie, and Tamara, and it looked like they were in a yoga studio. And Tamara is telling Katie about how, she got a call from Gina and she was really mad about this whole situation. And it's mainly stemming from, her feeling like Katie lied on her about Gina telling Katie, like, no, girl, you need to tell Heather now, or like, you don't need to bring this up. And Katie is like, I don't get why she's so mad about this, is when she was the one that told me to bring it up. Like, if I didn't bring it up, she was going to bring it up. It feels like she's trying to like sidestep accountability because she doesn't want to get in trouble. And so now I'm feeling like I did get set up. And my thing is like, I don't think Katie got set up. Like, I can see how she would think that, but I'm like, girl, you caught yourself up. There was no need for you to bring up something that happened last season, a season that you weren't even a part of. You didn't even know these women like that, for you to bring this to the group. Like, that's shady as hell. Why would you not think Heather's reaction to you was going to be defensive and you were going to be met with anger? Like, what? And I mean, granted, I can understand where Katie is like, well, she told me to bring it up. But I'm like, yeah, she told you to bring it up because you were talking about the whole situation to everybody in the group except the person that you were talking about, which was Heather. So I'm just like, yeah, I don't feel like she got set up. And I feel like they're playing semantics with the time, but I guess in Gina's mind, she's trying to prove to Heather that she is a loyal friend, because she's like, no, she called me and I told her with like in 10 minutes, like, girl, don't bring it up. But in Katie's mind, Katie's like, no, girl, you waited time until we got into this group to tell me not to bring it up. But I was like, does it really matter because it was brought up? I don't know. So they then start talking about Shannon, because Tamra brings up like, hey girl, like, Jen is like, well, you and Alexis, like, do you think you and Shannon can have a conversation? And Heather's like, no. And Alexis is like, no, we're not bringing this up at this event. We're not doing that, because we're not going to get into no screaming match in front of all these good people and ruin my name. That's the energy Heather was giving. And so Tamra asks Alexis, well, Shannon told me that John is like demanding that she pay him the $75,000 or he's going to take legal action. And Alexis is like, yeah. And so I think Heather was like, well, could you talk to John and tell him like, this ain't worth it? Like, this is like, we don't need to do this. And Alexis is like, I talked to him. I was like, well, Johnny, like, we don't need to do this. Like, just like, let it go, settle and let it go. Like, because I think they were also talking about Shannon, like giving like a settlement or something. And John is like, no, she ruined my name. Like, F that. Like, I'm going head forward with it. And Heather was just like, girl. And the interesting thing about this is I remember watching one of Erica De Niro's videos where she was like, girls are taught to like fight with their words and like ruin a girl's reputation, where our men are taught to be like more physical. And I was like, that in like this episode, that like her comment popped up in my head, because very much so they are trying to damage Shannon's reputation. And I guess John feels like Shannon damaged his beyond repair. And so he's trying to combat it. But I'm like, doing all of this is just making you look worse. Like, if anything, if you wanted your reputation to be, like, for people to stop talking about you, because had this not been the case, like, had you not brought Alexis and had all of this happening, we probably would have talked about Alexis and you for, like, maybe 2 or 3 episodes. But now you brought in this whole, like, I'm trying to sue her. And like Emily keeps saying, it's mighty convenient that you're suing her around the time of filming. So it's adding to the humiliation that it just makes you look like an utter and complete asshole. And if you thought your reputation was in the trash, like, before, girl... It is down in a sinkhole, and there's no way it's climbing out. Like, it's stuck there, because what you're doing is just crazy. So let's talk about the other ladies. So like I said, Heather told them they're having like a spa day. So they're all like sitting down in their white robes. The lady gives them these like scent cards to smell. They're supposed to help them relax and all of this stuff. Why on God's green earth when the lady asked them like, what's your favorite smell? Emily said tacos. Emily tries so bad to be funny, but she uses it at the expense of herself. Like I'm going to make a joke about myself before anybody else does. Like, she does the fat girl thing. And like, I've done that before, but it doesn't do anything for you other than like, if you can't really laugh at yourself, make yourself feel even worse. But I was like, Emily, no one thinks tacos smell good unless they are drunk or hella hungry. And all it smells like is meat and grease. Girl, what? That was so stupid. While they were smelling these like wonderful fragrance, she was like, I like tacos. She get on my nerves. Emily gets on my nerves. So while they're sitting there, Gina tells them like, oh, I haven't told you guys this. And everyone kind of gets worried that she's about to like drop like some crazy tea on them. But she just lets them know that her and Travis and the kids got a second dog named Clover or whatever. So now they have Clover and Meatball. And Katie says in her confessional, this is a Band-Aid for them. Like, this is a Band-Aid for Travis and Gina's relationship. She said, I did a Band-Aid and that was my third child. So I understand. Gina is just having a hard time processing how this choice that she made about Travis moving out is like affecting every aspect of her life. She was like, her daughter seems to be taking it the worst because she doesn't really do well with change. And we see this flashback scene of, I guess she was asking the kids like who house they want to stay with as they're doing construction at Gina's house for the kids. And she's like, oh, I want to go to Travis's house. And Gina's like, okay, but I guess the girl had like an attitude or she was getting very upset and frustrated. And Gina's like, that's okay. Like, we can talk these feelings out, but like, it don't like, you know, you're going to have to work through this. And so Gina is just getting emotional because she's just like, I really didn't think it was going to be all of this. But then I look at Gina like, well, first of all, you probably should have never moved in with Travis with your 3 kids. Like, you've been with Travis for like almost, I feel like a solid like 4 years, maybe 5. Like, you've been with him for maybe less than that. But it feels like she's been with him for at least like probably between 3 to 5 years. And for kids, that's a long time. And they probably really have grown to love and appreciate Travis's presence in the home. And now he's not there. You already have them going through the divorce with their father. It is a lot of change. But I also feel like Gina should make changes for herself that are beneficial for her family and not just Travis's family. So I don't think it's wrong that she like, I mean, I do feel like she used the man and kicked him out, but I'm also like, you got to do what's best for you. And if he's not bringing in a good income where y'all can get a bigger house as a family, then you have to make sure your kids are okay before his feelings. So while they're sitting there, Shannon gets a phone call from her lawyer and she's like, hey, I need to go take this call. And then as they're talking, Emily asks Gina, like, you really didn't think like this was going to be like this bad, like the like Travis wasn't gonna have an attitude? Because Travis seems to have an attitude because it's like he moved out and like you doing all of this construction in the house and he feels like Gina is trying to like erase him. And Emily's like, you really didn't think he was gonna feel some type of way? And Gina's like, no, like I really didn't. I said, girl, what? So then we see Shannon come back in from the phone call and they ask her like, did it go well? Like, how are you feeling? And she was just like, she looks like she had been crying. So Emily's like, are you okay? Like what happened? And she was like, they gave the offer letter to John for half and he pretty much rescinded it and said no. So now it's like, I guess we have to go to the courts. And so Emily was like, Shannon, just write a check. Girl, just write a check. And Shannon's like, no, like it's the principal. And Gina's like, girl, $75,000 is a lot of money. And it is. But I got where Emily was coming from. Like, girl, mental health wise, just write that check because you know you're going to get more money. Like, your money's going to come to you. That $75,000 is not that big of a deal when you know that you have this show, you have your business, and people love Shannon. So I got where Emily was coming from. Like, your mental health is worth more than this money. But I also understand Shannon being like, girl, it's the principal. I paid for everything. I'm not about to drop $75K. And offering to give him half that money was me being reasonable. But like I saw in somebody's comments, I think it was on Instagram, where somebody was like, Shannon should have never given that offer because now it feels like you're admitting like you do owe him that money. And I was like, dang, I didn't look at it that way. But if she does go to court, they are going to ask her like, well, why were you going to give him this money? Why were you going to give him half this money? And now you don't want to give him no money at all. Like, it's kind of like an admission of guilt. Like he is owed that money. But I was like, dang, girl. And so they then bring up the video. Gina just throws out there like, Shannon, this is a lot for you. You got this. And then like that video. And Shannon's like, what video? What video are you talking about? And Gina's like, And you got Katie being like, girl. And Emily is like not looking at Shannon, like, because Shannon's like, what video? What video are y'all talking about? What video? So the girls are just sitting there like they do not want to say or explain to Shannon what the video like is, like what the video is, or like what the video is of her. And you know, they do the flashback where it's Gina, Katie, and Heather sitting at the table at the traders event, where Gina's asking Heather like, I heard about the video, like, does Shannon know? And Heather's like, no, and I don't want no parts of this. Like, I don't want no parts of this. And Katie is like, if it comes out, it's gonna ruin her. So Katie basically bites the bullet, and she tells Shannon about it, where she's just like, Alexis told us that John has video of you, ring camera footage of you on the night of the DUI. And they are threatening to release it if you don't like comply. So now Shannon is like, I feel like I'm being extorted. Like, this is extortion. Like, this is extortion. Like, what do you mean? What do you mean? And so, you know, Shannon just starts breaking down. And I'm not even mad that Gina said something, because I do feel like Shannon needed to know. Like, I mean, I feel like Gina did it on purpose by just putting it out there. And then everybody else, like, you know, Katie, you know, hit that ball and told her, but she needed to know what was up. Because honestly, if I was her, I would use that in my court proceedings. I was like, he is blackmailing me, basically saying if I don't comply, he's going to release these videos of me on the night of my DUI. That probably would get the case thrown out if I was a judge. Because like, girl, why are we playing these games? But Shannon starts breaking down like, I can't. And then all of them are like, I know. I don't know why I laughed, because it was like they all said it at the same time in unison. I know. And Shannon is freaking out. She was like, I can't. She was like, why is he trying to destroy me? Like I can't. And like everyone is saying, like, if John and Alexis are such this happy couple filled with all this love, why are y'all trying to destroy her this way? Like, why are you trying to take her down? Like, why? So Shannon's like, I can't do this. So she leaves. She gets up, she grabs her stuff, she's in tears, and she goes back to her cabin to like have a full-on meltdown and call her lawyer. So then we see Katie and Emily do outside baths, and they're sitting in their swimsuits and they're talking about the situation. And Katie asks Emily, like, are you and Alexis like friends like that? Because maybe you could talk to her. And Emily's like, I know Alexis, like I've known her for a few years, but she's not in my immediate circle, but I have no problems talking to her. Because she was like, I understand, like Emily's like, I understand you want to defend your man, you want to do all of this, but what you're doing is evil, and it's salacious, and it's like defamatory. Like, why are we going to this level to like really mess with Shannon like this? Like, why? And Katie's like, yeah, it's nasty work. Nasty work. She was like, they both said in unison, like, this is like the most worst breakup they've ever seen. And I said, it really is, because again, if you guys are so happy, why are you going to this length to like destroy this person? And honestly, what has Shannon really said about John that was so detrimental that he needs to go to this length? The only thing we've heard is like, she paid for everything. And if you're broke, you're broke. Like, it is what it is. When they were having that sit down at the table, like Emily was like, doesn't he already like have money though, like that? And I think Shannon said something to the effect like he owns like half of his company, or he has stock in some company. So it's like, he's not hurting for money. But I'm like, why do you need this $75,000? And in my mind, that makes me feel like you're only doing this so you can keep like love bombing Alexis and like giving her all this stuff because your money is running out. Because to me, Shannon hasn't really said anything that detrimental about John other than she paid for everything for him to be going this hard at her. So, the girls are still in the tubs, and Katie asks Emily, like, do you think Shannon's gonna come to dinner? And Emily was like, probably not. I wouldn't. Like, I'm not going to be sitting across the table from Alexis, especially after this information that she just heard about these videos. So we know Shannon is trying to like process everything, and we see her actually go to Heather's house, her cabin. And Heather's like, oh, hey girl, I saw you walking up. So she opens the door. She was like, you not ready for dinner? And Shannon's like, girl, I don't think I'm coming to dinner. And Heather's like, what's wrong? And she's like, she could tell that Shannon's been crying. So she goes to get Shannon some tissue. And so she tells Heather how like had her lawyer put in an offer for John, and it was like half, and he declined it. And Heather's like, dang. And then she said, and now I'm finding out about this, like, tea about this video and stuff. And Heather's like, yeah, girl. Because at first Heather was sitting across from her, and then she ended up sitting beside her. And then she gets up and sits across from her again. But right now they're sitting next to each other, and Heather's just like, I know this is a lot. I know this is a lot. And Shannon's like, I don't know what he wants from me. Like, I'm not gonna lie. Like, all I said is that I paid for everything, and that is true. And I'm tired of like having to sift through my bills to prove that I paid for all this stuff for us. Like, I can't take it anymore. I'm sick of it. I'm tired of it. So then Heather gets up, and Shannon ends up saying, like, you don't really know, like, everything, so let me tell you. So she starts telling the story about that night of the DUI, and she was like, I left the house, and like 10 seconds after that, like, I cat a corner and I hit a planter, and then I passed out. And I said, Shannon, that's not it. That's not it, sis, because the video doesn't confirm that. The video shows that you came fast around that corner, like you said, cat a corner, and you hit that planter, and then you backed up and went into traffic. And the police even said that, like, when they got you, you tried to get out the car and act like you were walking your dog. So maybe you passed out when you were going to the hospital, but you didn't hit that and then pass out. It probably would have been better if you did hit that and pass out. But she's like, yeah, I hit that and passed out. I got a call from my friend like 10 days later, and was like, how quickly did you get into that accident after leaving John's house? And Shannon was like, maybe 10 or 15 seconds. And then the friend was like, I find it mighty odd that John didn't like come out and see if you were okay. Like, and so Heather's like, so are you saying that you think that he, like, you believe in your heart of hearts that, like, he knew you got into an accident and didn't come check up on you or something like that? And Shannon's like, I don't know, but it is mighty peculiar. He didn't come check on me, and this accident happened in his neighborhood. So Shannon ends up getting really emotional, where she was like, I forgot that, like, I texted him at like 2 a.m. or like 1 a.m. and I took a picture of myself after the accident and sent it to him. And he was like, why are the police at my house dropping off Archie? Like, what happened? And so Heather's like, he didn't come, like, he just bypassed the picture of you being injured. And Heather's like, well, maybe he didn't see it, trying to give John the benefit of the doubt. So then she gets up and sits beside Shannon. And in her confessional, Heather's like, I really feel bad for Shannon. She's saying that she passed out, she hit this, she hit that. She was like, I don't even know if she really remembers everything that really happened that night, but this is a lot. So as she's sitting beside Shannon, you can visibly tell that Shannon is broken up. Like, she is like shaking as she's like trying to show the pitch, like find the picture in her camera reel of like her after like hurting herself in the DUI. And so Heather's like, are you trying to find the picture? And she's like, yeah. And when she shows the picture, legit, y'all, I was like, damn. I said that audibly while I was watching the episode. I was like, damn. Like, whoa. Like she had it's like she has blood coming from her hair. It looked like her eye was messed up. And I'm just like, girl, that's how they knew you was drunk driving when the police stopped you. But also, if he bypassed that and didn't ask you if you was okay and just went back to sleep, that man never cared. That man never cared. Because I've even been in situations with people that I liked and we had a falling out, and I found out that they're hurt, and I'm still like, oh, are they okay? But if they were to send me a picture of them bloodied and bruised, I would be like, girl, are you all right? FaceTime me. Let me know what's good, But like, to see that and just bypass it, I was just like, and then Heather was like, if that's really what happened, that's effed up. Like, she was like, that's effed. Like, that ain't right. And I said, girl, mess. Y'all, that is it. That is all. As always, remember to be bravely authentic, and definitely hop down in the comments below and share your thoughts with me. What I will say is this episode was kind of rough to watch. Still enjoyed the mess, but it's just like seeing Shannon, like the shaking of the hands is what got me. Like, Shannon crying about stuff doesn't really get to me. But when you can visibly see somebody's hand shaking because they're that worked up and they're that overwhelmed and like hurt by what's happening, that's gonna hit me because I've been there before. So I was just like, dang, girl. I mean, honestly, the outcome is always going to be in Shannon's benefit because at the end of the day, the fans and like the general public rides with Shannon. I just don't know how Tamra, Alexis, and John did not calculate that this was going to make things way worse for them. Like with this type of behavior. Especially John, because you just seem stupid to me. Like, this is stupid. But I'm out, y'all. Deuces.